Hi, it's Brian Benton again from Australia, and welcome to another Words of Hope pastoral conversation. Today's chat is taken from Philippians 3, and I've called it Profit and Loss. The text reads, "But whatever gain I had, I counted as loss for the sake of Christ. Indeed, I count everything as loss because of the surpassing worth of knowing Jesus Christ, my Lord. For his sake I've suffered the loss of all things and count them as rubbish in order that I might gain Christ." All of us are familiar with the accounting term of a profit and loss statement. They're used to assess productivity and make management decisions across benchmarks for businesses. Today's biblical text focuses on another form of profit and loss where we recalibrate our lives against a different kind of a benchmark, the benchmark of having a relationship to Jesus Christ. Now let me unwrap a few ideas here. If you are following global trends, you don't need me to explain that socially transformative events are afoot, and what we consider as our normal is being redefined for us and not necessarily with our consent. The challenge that I see moving forward is how we manage what we consider to be our normal. That is our career pursuits, business commitments, cost of living pressures, educational objectives, family work-life balance, and our lifestyle choices. Balancing all that normality against the overt and stated agenda from the Davos Globalists. Pastorally, I sense that what we consider to be our bedrock safe havens may shake more than we realise, and our so-called normal may not be quite as reliable as we once always assumed. I've been thinking a lot about this and how do we navigate our lives through this prospective future? I suggest our text speaks into this space today. What Paul once considered valuable no longer form part of his new profit ledger. Whatever I considered gain, he says, I now consider as a loss. That is, his values and priorities shifted. So then he went through a calibration process and he laid everything aside, counting it as rubbish in order to gain Christ. Now this was Paul's new operating benchmark. Now let's be clear here what this means in our context. It doesn't mean that we walk away from our businesses or give up our career choices or disengage from society or divest ourselves of our property and investment portfolios. It doesn't mean we don't play sport or have a hobby or visit the movies or go out for a meal or anything like that. What it does mean is that we place more value on knowing Christ than all the other stuff that we fill our lives with. It involves a complete recalibration of our lives. It means our priority in life is about our relationship to Christ, and all that we do reflects that priority. My favourite Bible passage comes just a few verses later in the same chapter, where Paul declares his fourfold desire in life. He says, I want to know Christ, the power of his resurrection, the fellowship of his suffering, becoming like him unto death. In other words, Paul is saying, I just don't want to know about Christ, but know him in a personal way, what he stands for and represents. He says, I want to experience in daily living the unleashed power of the resurrection that changes and transforms people's lives. And remember, his own life was testament to that transforming power. Now, he says, I want to understand the meaning of suffering to the full extent that Christ himself suffered for us. I want to discover what it means to completely die to passions and desires, so in every aspect of life, I and we reflect the likeness of Christ. Now let me suggest in practical terms 3 ways that we can log in with these ideas. First, seriously evaluate what in our life needs a rethink. Take a reality check on priorities and values. Some things may have to go. Some things refined, some old opportunities perhaps revisited, and some new opportunities pursued. Ask yourself, why am I doing what I'm doing, and are there narratives in my life that I'm enslaved to and encumbered with? What needs to change in my life? Secondly, evaluate where Christ sits in relationship to our priorities and values. Make him the preeminent focus of our decision making. Now note this, it's important. This is not adding Christ as another line on our balance sheet, as it were, but making Christ himself the balance sheet, where everything about our life gets filtered through the lens of our relationship to him. Then third, I suggest that we identify those parallel communities or support networks, example like a switched-on faith community, where we can connect into that will support us in times of need. This is about living within the system, yet functioning independently of that system. Elsewhere, the Bible describes this as a Christian living in the world, but not of the world. That is, not being conformed, controlled, coerced, or manipulated by a system that diminishes or denies our freedoms. I suggest that being part of a faith-based wellness community is a strategic decision for 2023, where, like Paul, we gain more of Christ. The essence of what Paul is arguing here is about attachment. On the one hand, we are to purposely disentangle ourselves from dependency on stuff and the systems that entrap us in that stuff. And then on the other hand, attach ourselves firmly into relationship with Christ and the broader community of faith. That, I suggest, is where hope is to be found in spite of any globalist intent in the future. Well, that's it for today, and hopefully it will give you food for thought around your meal table. Let me finish with this thought, though, from A.W. Tozer. He says, "It's not what a man does that determines whether his work is sacred or secular, but why he does it." In other words, rationale becomes really important in navigating complexity in the times that we're living. Cheers, God bless, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.